Hi, my name is Pat, and this is my channel, Book Chat with Pat, and I'm glad that you're here. Today I'm going to be doing my weekly wrap-up for the week ending January 25th. I have a number of ongoing reading events that I'm going to be talking about, and a few things that I finished this week also. I finished and reviewed separately on the channel Brennan Morton's memoir, Valhalla Boys. And this is a memoir of a young man's experiences in the Marines. He enlisted after 9/11. He had already completed college when he signed up for the Marines. So the beginning of the memoir details his experience in basic training, and the rest of the book is about his experiences in Iraq. This work came out of therapeutic sessions with his therapist at the VA, who encouraged him to write, to write it down. And that's what he's done in this very, very powerful memoir. I was introduced to this book through my friend MJ at Reading This Life. She's a personal friend of the author's, Brennan Morton, and she asked me if I would read and review his book, and I agreed to do so. And I was very honored to read his book. I have continued this week with the Proust read-along. I'm still reading In Search of Lost Time, Volume 1, Swann's Way. This is supposed to take us into late February. I am about 350 pages in. I have made the decision that at this time I'm going to complete Swann's Way. I will complete Volume 1, but I'm not going to continue with the read-along for Volumes 2 through 6. This just isn't the right time in my life for this particular challenge. I am also continuing my reading of Mary Beard's SPQR, A History of Ancient Rome, which I'm reading for the first quarter of Historathon. I am loving this book. It is, as I think I said last week, it's much more accessible than I at first anticipated. And it's been a long time since I've studied ancient Roman history. And I can't say things are coming back to me necessarily, but Mary Beard writes in a style that is definitely reader friendly and quite accessible. So I'm continuing with that. I participated last Saturday in a live stream hosted by the Heinlein 2025 group. We were discussing Red Planet, which was our read for January. And we are going to be reading for February a collection of short stories, which I'm really looking forward to. I've now read I think I've read 3 of Heinlein juveniles. That's what Red Planet is considered, one of his, what we would today call a YA novel, one of his, from his juvenile series. But this Menace from, the Menace from Earth is a collection of short stories, and that's what we're going to be reading for February. I have also completed Clifford D. Simak's The Goblin Reservation, which was our January read for the Simak 2025 group, and we're going to be discussing this in a live stream next weekend. So that was the January reading for the Simak group. So both of these groups are groups that I've joined in my effort to become better versed in classic science fiction, a genre that I sadly missed out on for much of my life. My personal in-person book group is reading Shelby Van Pelt's Remarkably Bright Creatures. this is a reread for me. I read this book when it first came out in, I think, 2022. But my group wanted to read it this month, and I loved it the first time I read it, so I'm perfectly willing to give it another read. This is, many people have been talking about Remarkably Bright Creatures over the past year or so. This is the story of a woman, Tova Sullivan, who has recently lost her husband, but some years ago, she lost her only child. She lost her son, and his disappearance, his death, or whatever happened to him, is a big mystery in the novel. So when the novel opens, she has a good, solid friend group, but she's experienced a great deal of trauma, and she has quite a bit of loneliness in her life. So when we first meet her, she's working the night shift at a local aquarium, and she becomes acquainted with the other main character in the story, and that's Marcellus, a giant Pacific octopus who lives at the aquarium. Marcellus narrates a good part of the novel. When I read this the first time, I remember thinking that I was going to have trouble with a novel narrated by an octopus, and I actually had the exact opposite experience. I love the character of Marcellus. I love his voice, and I just ended up falling in love with the novel. So a very unusual and unlikely relationship develops between our main character, Tova Sullivan, and our other main character, Marcellus, the octopus. And this is a relationship unlike any that I have encountered in any other novel that I can that I can think of at this point. It's really it's a beautiful book. I have also started a reread of a book that I read many, many years ago. So this is feeling like a first-time read, and that is Oliver Sacks' The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat and Other Clinical Tales. I'm reading this with Gareth at Book Songs and Other Magic for a club that he has started entitled the Bi-Monthly Belief and Behavior Book Club. So Oliver Sacks' book is the reading for January and February. It's the first reading of this new club that Gareth has started. And there's going to be a live stream discussion that Gareth is going to be leading, and that's going to take place the first week of March. So I think I read this when this was a new book back in the 80s. This was, I think, written in 1985. Oliver Sacks was a neurologist, and in this book, he chronicles a number of case histories. These are stories of patients that he worked with. There are 24 in total. These are cases of people with all kinds of neurological issues. There's a person who is unable to recognize faces, even of people that he knows. There are other cases of people with all kinds of perceptual and intellectual disorders. Some dealing with extreme forms of memory loss. just people who lack certain conventional intellectual abilities and yet have uncanny abilities and perceptions in other areas. So it's a fascinating study of 24 cases of people with various neurological issues and disorders. So I'm really looking forward to the discussion that we're going to have on this after everyone has finished in February. I think the discussion is going to be on, I think it's on March 2nd. I have to check that. I have to verify that. I also am getting ready for the next Pineiro novel that we're reading for the Pinero Project. On Monday, we start what will be our 5th novel. This is A Crack in the Wall. No one in the group has read this one yet. So, for all of the others that we've read so far, there are some people who had read them, some people, for whom it was a reread. But I think this is the first one that none of us have read, and we're all coming to this. We're all coming to this one fresh. This is a novel that Pineiro wrote in 2009. But it was translated into English for the first time in 2013. This is the story, I just started it. I just read the first couple of chapters. But this is the story of an architect named Pablo Simo, or Simo, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, and he works for a small architectural firm, and there are 2 other members of the staff that are also main characters. I think they're going to be main characters in the rest of the novel. There's his boss, somebody who's just referred to as Borla, and then there's also a woman in the office named Marta Horvat, and our main character Pablo spends a great deal of time fantasizing about her, at least so far. Now, these 3 people not only work together, but they're also involved in the death of a man who comes to them about a crack in the wall. They are building a new building, and this man claims that their work on this building has caused structural damage in his home, and he claims that his house there's not only a crack in the wall, but that the whole structure of his dwelling place has been damaged by their building project. And he's becoming for them something of a nuisance, and it's only hinted at so far early in the book, but it seems like something terrible is going to happen to this man who has made this complaint. So I'm really looking forward to our getting into this in the coming week. We're going to be reading this over the next 2 weeks, and we just have phenomenal discussions in the Pinero Project Voxer group. So I'm looking forward to getting into the next novel. Also this week I did a tag video on bookmarks, which was a lot of fun, and I did a Poetry Thursday video on the poetry of social justice. And I did that in honor of Martin Luther King Day, which was this past week also. So that's what I've been reading and what I've been working on this week. So it feels like it's been a very, very productive week. Gearing up for a couple of events that I'm excited about for February, and just a couple of things that I'm doing on my own as well, but I'll talk more about those next week. So as always, I thank you for watching. I hope that you're doing well. I'll speak with you again soon. Take care.